The Amazing Spider-Man. It's a movie that kind of slips under the radar whenever people discuss their favorite Spider-Man movies. You always hear the heavy hitters involved whenever people do talk about Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man 1 and 2, Into and Across the Spider-Verse, No Way Home. Yes, I include No Way Home, even though people have suddenly done a 180 on it and decided it is no longer a good movie. But honestly, I just can't accept that. And yeah, they're all great Spider-Man movies, but The Amazing Spider-Man always falls more towards the mediocre to bad category of Spider-Man movies, but I really think there's a lot of good in this movie to unpack. And it seems like after No Way Home, everyone has always been on the Andrew Garfield fan train apparently. But still, I am glad there are people who are beginning to appreciate Andrew Garfield's movies. I just thought I'd go into a bit more detail as to why this might be, and prove to you that The Amazing Spider-Man actually is amazing. Starting off, I really appreciate the darker tone of the movie, and because of that, it really does give off this gritty, down in the dumps Spider-Man vibe. And this reflects itself in the suit. It looks cheap, but we'll get more into that later. On top of that, I think that this tone really works well with Andrew Garfield's portrayal of the character. His portrayal of Spider-Man is quippy, he's jokey, he's snarky, almost like he's ripped straight out of the comic books and plastered onto the big screen. When I see this scene,
Is that a real knife? Yes, it's a real knife. My weakness, it's small knives. Just let me go. Anything but knives! Oh, it's so simple. One second. Knock it off, man! No! Dude, that isn't funny! It is kind of funny.
I think, yeah, that's Spider-Man, that's the web slinger from the comics. And while I also get somewhat similar vibes from Toby and Tom respectively, they've never really hit on the nail as much as Andrew has. I mean, look at this, he's straight up making a spider web and crawls around like a spider on corners here. Tell me this isn't literally Spider-Man, you just can't. And this grittier tone also makes the movie seem less campy and cheesy like a comic book, which I know I just said it feels like Andrew is ripped straight from the comics, but stay with me here. A clear example are these two scenes, Toby and Andrew's responsibility scenes respectively.
This guy, Flash Thompson, he probably deserved what happened. But just because you can beat him up doesn't give you the right to. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Are you afraid that I'm going to turn into some kind of criminal?
This scene is great. I'm not going to slander it. It's iconic and pays homage to the classic line. But I think I prefer the Garfield version instead. Let's just take a look here.
That if you could do good things for other people, you had a moral obligation to do those things. That's what's at stake here. Not choice, responsibility.
Hold on a second, Uncle Ben didn't say the line. I've seen criticism of this scene because he doesn't outright say with great power comes great responsibility, but I think that's what makes this scene great. As incredible as the line is, I couldn't really imagine a parent saying it to their child. Now that might just be because the line has become so associated with Spider-Man now, but still. But Uncle Ben's line here sounds like something a parent would say to their kid, and that's why I prefer it. It doesn't sound comic booky. It doesn't sound like a script. It just sounds like something a parental figure would say to their kid. This paired together just makes for a great Spider-Man, and in my opinion, the best live action one we've seen because of Andrew Garfield and how his Spider-Man is portrayed. And this carries over to his portrayal of Peter. Now, yeah, there's issues with his portrayal of Peter. It's not really believable that Andrew Garfield would get bullied in school, with a skateboard especially, but seeing him tinker with his web shooters, failing to get them to work, making his suit with spandex and sunglass lenses, getting punched in the face by Flash is all peak Peter Parker behavior. Come on, if I got Spider-Man's powers, I would definitely do something like this if I were Peter. But I do admit that his Peter Parker definitely leaves a lot to be desired. When I think of a nerdy Peter Parker, I don't think of Andrew Garfield. I think of Toby or Tom, not a dude who looks like Andrew Garfield, can skate and is tall. This is something that I think Toby excels at specifically. He gives off that dorky vibe and seems like someone that would actually be bullied or picked on. Moving on to what arguably most people deem to be the best part of these movies, Peter and Gwen's relationship. Their relationship in this movie is absolutely the best live action relationship between Peter and his love interest. MJ, well, we all know about MJ.
She belongs to the streets.
Peter deserved far better, and MJ too, or well, wait, give me a second.
Watson? Jones, I don't go by Watson.
Michelle Jones kind of feels like a bit out of nowhere. In Homecoming, she doesn't really care about Peter, but in Far From Home, she becomes interested all of a sudden. Seems a little out of the blue for me. Both Peter and Gwen here, it feels natural. It feels like they actually do like each other and care for one another. The conversation feels natural and normal. Gwen is also actually helpful, unlike MJ. She creates the lizard's cure. She helps patch Peter up instead of getting jealous of him and leaving him every other movie, yada yada, you get the point. Now, of course, this doesn't end well for Gwen. But still, this feels like a relationship where Gwen actually likes Peter. She doesn't just tolerate him or have some sort of artificial interest in him. And I think that's why people are so unanimously in agreement with this aspect of these movies being the best part of them. They genuinely had chemistry with one another. And while we're on the topic of side characters here, I feel it would be an injustice not to mention Flash. And his character here goes back to that realistic tone I mentioned earlier. He's not your typical jock bully like Raimi's Flash, but he's also not this goober. He teases Peter, doesn't take him seriously, but after Uncle Ben's death, he steps up and tries to give his condolences to Peter. Not as a condescending bully, but as a potential friend. Peter Peter doesn't take kindly to this, of course, but the sentiment is there, even going to the point where they're friendly in the end, and Flash is unknowingly a huge fan of Peter. Feels like an actual person, not to mention he doesn't look 30. It's a shame he's not in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 beyond a deleted scene, but he's always been a great character in this movie, albeit a small character, but still a great character nonetheless, maybe even amazing. Moving on to one of the more controversial parts of the film, the suit. The suit, in my opinion, is the most unique looking out of all the live action Spider-Man suits, and I think that mainly comes down to the lenses and the feel of the suit. But in my opinion, it works perfectly for the tone of the movie, a darker, grittier atmosphere where most of the action happens in the night. I mean, could you just imagine trying to rob a car and seeing this guy in the night? Yeah, not great. Now imagine seeing this scene with Toby's suit or Tom's suit or the sequel suit, it just wouldn't hit the same. Now I can see why people might not be a fan of the suit, but I think for the feel of the movie, it really does work perfectly. Also, the dark lenses are really cool, don't come at me. But I can understand why a lot of people might not like this suit. It does give off this kind of dark, edgy vigilante vibe rather than your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man vibe, which the second suit in the sequel does admittedly do way better. I just think for the tone that we have in this movie, it really does work well with that kind of darker, grittier, down in the dumps atmosphere. But I can see why a lot of people might not like it, so it is a point I'm willing to concede on. Now, the swinging, yeah, everyone knows the swinging is incredible in the Garfield films, and it's not exactly in dispute, but I'm still going to talk about why they're just so cool. These movies have honestly perfected Spider-Man swinging. The mix of CGI and practical effects are just stunning, especially even more so in the second film, but this movie still has its incredible moments. It looks like he's actually swinging with some weight behind him, some drive and push. It's like he's a pendulum on a swing, like you could actually calculate the science behind it, and the crane scene really does show this. Speaking of the crane scene, I always appreciate scenes where New Yorkers help out Spider-Man. It was awesome in Spider-Man 1 and 2, and it's great here. Seeing New York as a city of people and its own character rather than just the background city that Spider-Man operates in is something that I think creates a link between Spider-Man and the people of the city. And both the swinging and the character of New York City is something I honestly think is missing in the Tom Holland movies. And looking at the sets of Brand New Day, I am really optimistic that they will be able to bring this aspect of Spider-Man to life in Tom's trilogy. As of right now though, I am willing to say that Tobey Maguire does hold the crown in having New York City as a character, followed by Andrew Garfield and then Tom. I'm just a huge sucker for New York City being there for Spider-Man and backing him against the villains. It always puts a smile on my face and it's always incredible to see. But that is a bit of a tangent from me, so I'll go back to the original topic: the swinging, the CGI, the effects, the physics, the extent to which the directors went to make sure this looks incredible on the big screen. It all really shows how much care went into this and this part of the movie, and honestly it's something that I hope the Brand New Day team can replicate. And looking at the behind the set photos of Tom Holland swinging around, it honestly does look like they're trying to replicate something like this, and I really do hope that they succeed with this, because if they do, we will finally get something that looks like this on the big screen again after years. Now I know I didn't go over everything about the film. Yes, I admit it's definitely not perfect. Connor's wanting to improve everyone by turning them into lizards isn't exactly the best motivation, and the focus on Peter's parents isn't much interesting at all. But despite that, I think there's a lot of good stuff here. Andrew Garfield's performance as both Peter and Spider-Man, the realistic tone, the incredible CGI, the swinging, the suit, the score, which I can't play unfortunately, are all things that really do propel the movie further than what a lot of us might have initially believed when we were first watching it. And I think this sentiment isn't one that I'm really alone on. It seems that after No Way Home, a lot more people have become more appreciative of these films, and I hope that even if I didn't convince you that it's an amazing movie per se, I hope that at the very least I convinced you it's definitely better than a lot of people give it credit for. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm new to this whole YouTube thing and I'm still trying to figure it all out, so please absolutely feel free to leave comments down below on what you liked about the video and maybe what could be better. And with all that being said, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.